This video is by CoconutRTS, which is not somebody we've watched on the channel in a while. We have watched a few of their videos. There's the description, the link in the chat over there. The link will be in the description below if you're on YouTube. Coco is doing a video today talking about can Texas Chainsaw Massacre overtake Dead by Daylight. Similarly to what Noodle just said in the chat, I don't think these games are comparable. I don't think they should stand at odds with each other. Texas Chainsaw is very clearly trying to, from its blueprint and its DNA, try to be and hold its status as just a goofy party game and not kind of like lend itself to the more sweaty and frustrating aspects of Dead by Daylight that Dead by Daylight has. So I think that they are kind of going in two different directions realistically, and they shouldn't be comparable. But because they're both ASIMs, they're going to be compared to each other. Just like how like all FPSs get compared to each other, even though there's vastly different game modes across tons and tons of FPSs. They're going to be compared to each other because that's just how it goes. That's just the nature of gaming. Nobody can help that. So that's just be how it goes. So yeah.
Can Texas Chainsaw Massacre overtake Dead by Daylight? Well, yes. So first off, what is Texas Chainsaw Massacre? It's a 3v4 asymmetrical game that plays very similarly to Dead by Daylight, with 3 killers and 4 survivors. Killers have voice chat that allow them to talk to each other. Survivors have voice chat that allow them to talk to each other. There is no whole.
And that's the fun part of it for me. That is what I'm excited for. That's why I really want to play this game in August for. The idea of just like squatting up with my homies as the family, as the like. Imagine if like you could squat up like Reaper's like, yeah, I'm gonna hold on. Reaper wears glasses. Yeah, I'm gonna play my pinhead. I'm gonna play my pinhead. My pinhead's my best killer. I'm still on a win streak with them. I'm like, okay, I'll bring my Billy. I'll be the fun guy. And then like we get Red with us. Red's like, I got my Oni, you know, like you imagine that? You imagine that? You know how fun that would be? Just like going out as like Oni, Pinhead, and Hillbilly into a match. How hilarious that would be. That'd be fun. And that's like something this game lets you do, which I'm so excited to do. I'm so excited to do with other friends. I am so excited. So excited.
M1 to do the gens and just escape anymore. There is find the pressure valve, put it on the pressure tank, escape through the pressure exit, find the fuse, put the fuse in the fuse box, complete the fuse, go to the.
This is what I think it does. This is how it maintains its personality as an identity, rather its identity as a party game, is that there's mini games for like everything. Right? Like you're constantly doing like little mini games, like in a real party game, like Mario Party, you do mini games while traveling across the board, right? Like, and you're not doing the same one thing, which is a gen, which is literally nothing. Don't tell me that hitting a skill check every once in a while is stimulating for you, because it's really not. It is not. That is not a mini game. That is holding a singular button and tapping another button sometimes. That's like a mobile game. No, and mobile games are more fun than that. So like, there's actually stuff to do, to mess around, and to kind of create your own path out, you know? So like, I don't know. I feel like that there's just so much of this lends itself more to having fun, because it's not just do your objective versus do your objective, which is like I was saying in that previous video. Why, if you guys are on YouTube and haven't watched that, TLDR very quickly, is I think Dead by Daylight kind of like always inherently kind of started, you know, because of its inherent design, lended itself to eventually getting sweaty because there's nothing else to do. It's just me do gen, me kill you to prevent you from doing gen. It's only my objective versus your objective. There was never anything else in that equation, right? There was never anything else in that equation. Never anything else in that equation. There wasn't different mini games per gens. There wasn't, if I get 2 or 3 gens done, something happens that's special. Like the actual like gameplay flow of Dead by Daylight doesn't change throughout the match. I think that's the big thing. That's the key thing I want to highlight. Is like the gameplay flow doesn't change throughout the match itself. If you're trying to kill and down survivor, you are trying to kill and down survivors at 5 gens, just like you are at 1 gen or no gens. That's what you're trying to do. Same thing with survivor. Like you are trying to sit an M1 on a gen or loop the killer for as long as possible at 5 gens, just like you are at 1 gen. The gameplay loop is the same the entire match. Now, when the gens get done a survivor, you got to hold M1 on something else. Ooh, revolutionary. You know? But like your gameplay loop is the exact same for the entire duration of the match. But like in a real party game, you're doing fun little things throughout the match. You're not doing the same thing over and over and over. Like some things will be the same the whole way through a Texas Chainsaw match, like, you know, running away from the family, being chased by the family, trying to avoid them that way. But like the things you do throughout the game change, right? Like even with family, since we talked about victim. I was trying to think of what they called it. We talked about victim. Let's talk about family. You have other options. You don't have to only chase the victims, even though that's your objective. You can feed grandpa and contribute to info for the whole team. You can do that. You can work on fortifying and defending the exits. You can do that. And obviously there's specific characters that are better at doing that, one or the other, and you can pick a character based on what kind of role you prefer to do with that. But that's not preventing Bubba from feeding grandpa. Is he the least good at it? Yeah. He has the lowest blood count of any character. But if you want to do that, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. You can play that way. Like, you have alternate stuff you can do on both sides. That's just kind of like doing whatever. And that's why it airs itself as a party game, or lends itself more to being a party game than Dead by Daylight does, when it's just objective on objective the entire time.
Basement exit. Turn off the electricity on the car jack. Escape through the back gate. Explore the front. Sabotage the generator and escape through the front exit. Completely different objectives to escaping a match. Something that a lot of Dead by Daylight players have been wanting for a long time. Different objectives to escape. And when we talk about overtaking, it has the potential to, due to the nature of how different and...
I heard somebody bring out something really fun once. A really fun idea. Is, you know how you have different animations for each side of a gen you're on? Somebody had an idea that each different animation came with its own minigame. Like, you could sit doing the wire crossing thing, and that will come with its own minigame. Or if, like, you're just, like, sticking your hand inside the side of the gen, whatever the heck that one is. Like, that's its own thing. And it's still the main objective, so it doesn't get too complicated. Still the main objective is only do the gen. Because that's one of the DBD's strengths, is that it's very simple. But, like, the minigames are different depending on, like, what side of the gen you're on. Or, like I said, maybe objectives change or get easier or something, like, as the match progresses. Just something to mix it up.
Something that a lot of Dead by Daylight players have been wanting for a long time. Different objectives to escape. And when we talk about overtaking, it has the potential to, due to the nature of how different and fun it is. It is not trying to be like Dead by Daylight. As a matter of fact, it is completely different. When I talk about overtaking, I'm not talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre killing Dead by Daylight.
That's what everybody wants to say.
That Texas Chainsaw Massacre has the potential to grow as big, if not bigger, than DBD itself. Let me explain. Dead by Daylight has been around for 7 years. And at one point, we've all had a lot of fun, whether it's looping the killer, killing survivors, maxing out our perks, collecting items for every single match, getting a stash of anniversary items, you name it, we've all done it. We've all had our fun at some point within Dead by Daylight. But when comparing, Dead by Daylight players are very serious. Everyone likes to win. It's a brawl, going hard on killer with tunneling, camping, sweating, going hard on survivor, doing gens really fast.
Yeah, the problem is that, like, the growth of Texas Chainsaw is a little precarious because they only have the rights to the first movie, so they can't even, like, introduce, like, other aspects of, like, the other fan favorite films, like Texas Chainsaw 2 or the remake that was also pretty alright. They can't really reach into that and get that because the rights situation with Texas Chainsaw is very muddy. Like, where all the rights are to the different sequels are all across the place. So they can't, like, what they do with maps and characters, at least for now, has to be very, they have to introduce original content. And as you've seen with Dead by Daylight, original content is very hit or miss. You know? Even with Blight, who's somebody that, like, we thought was, like, you know, perfect chapter, he ended up having, like, one of the most oppressive add-on designs in the game and made playing Survivor against him, like, absolutely miserable, you know? So, like, original content can be hit or miss, just like with, like, Skull Merchant and Knight. Yeah. You could have something like Blight where you're like, oh, this is relatively well designed, and then you can go to Skull Merchant and Knight, which are just complete snooze fests. So, like, a game can live and die by that. They really can. They really can. So it really just depends.
meeting the survivor friends, and finding the strongest combos you possibly can to outdo a killer. Dead by Daylight players like to optimize games. In reference to several features that Behavior has added, a visual terrorist indicator to know when a killer is coming to you and if they're approaching. Survivor HUD icons to know what your teammates are doing so that you can coordinate and turn solo queue into a pseudo survive with friends. The nerfing and buffing of particular perks to make sure everything is balanced and nothing's too overly OP or broken. Dead by Daylight seems to be moving in a sort of competitive direction. We're bridging the gap between solo and survivor friends is leading to the optimization of survivor gameplay overall across the board, i.e. competitive Dead by Daylight. And this by far is not particularly a bad thing, granted they make the changes necessary. If Behavior Interactive wants to take Dead by Daylight in a competitive direction, they need to address
They already
camping,
are.
which they are.
We're looking to test out a new feature that's going to help combat face.
Because like whether you like it or you hate it, they are embracing this, right? Like whether you love it or you hate it, like they're embracing this. They are going down this path where like, hey, we are introduced skill-based matchmaking. We're not going back on that. We're not going back on that. That's not a thing we're gonna do. That's not a thing we're gonna do. We're not going back on the skill-based matchmaking. We put too much effort into that. It's not going away. No matter how much you guys hate it. So now they're just trying to lessen the blow. And this is what I was saying in a lot of our Gary React videos, because I know Gary is like fully against any sort of like balancing of this game in any sort of like standard manner. It's more of just, you know, let it happen. It's a party game. I think that at this point we're just in like damage control mode, right? Let's make the best of the situation. That they've leaned into this sweatiness. Let's see what we can do. How can we make the best out of this? So
as a whole.
So the way the system works is that the hooked survivor has a meter on their screen, and it fills up based on the killer's distance to the hooked survivor. The closer the killer is, the faster it fills up, and once it's full, the hooked survivor can unhook themselves, even in the second stage.
If we think of Dead by Daylight adding a ranked game mode...
Can you imagine you walk... I just realized something. What do you bring reassurance? What are those reassurance, Andes? You walk up, you reassure the survivor, they just get so much of that buildup, they just unhook themselves anyway. You're like, what? Why did I even do that for you? You know? Like imagine you go through all your effort to reassure somebody and they just end up just yeeting themselves off the hook anyway, and you're like, hey, I was helping, I thought. The hell?
Previous main issues seem to be getting addressed. The tunneling off hook, base kit borrowed time, base kit haste effect, getting camped on hook, base kit deliverance, J is going too fast, additional killer gen regression, faster pallet breaks and wall breaks. It almost feels like Behavior is getting ready to implement a ranked mode, which means Behavior Interactive wants to take Dead by Daylight into a competitive direction. And with the slight scope change of focus towards optimization, there's going to be an audience of players that want something different, more casual, something less super intense and less stressful.
And I will say that, like, even though DBD, you know, initially set out to be a party game, a lot of games fall into this in their late age. Because whether you like it or not, DBD, it's old. DBD is very old. They're an old game. They're grandpas, right? They're little grandpas. Like, the game is 7 years old. Like, the game is not a spring chicken. So a lot of games, like whether you love it or you hate it, do kind of get into this zone of becoming competitive, because there's kind of like, quite frankly, nothing left to do, because most of the game has been figured out. It's like what a lot of people say, the game is figured out at this point. That they figure out the formula, they figure out how to be good, they figure out how to do this. So it's just kind of like, what's left besides just take it super seriously, because like the game's not fresh anymore. It's not new, it's not crazy, it's not hype, so why not just go hard, I guess, you know? That's something new to do theoretically, right?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes in. With the killer voice chat, the survivor voice chat, you can talk to the other survivors in the lobby. And when you're hunting down survivors, you can talk to 2 other killers that are working together to help you kill all 4 survivors. You're like, Coconut, there are 3 killers. How is this balanced? Well, after playing in the technical test, it is surprisingly balanced.
It is.
Because not that many people know how to do everything to optimize yet, but everyone was having fun. Matter of fact, if Texas Chainsaw Massacre turns their game overly competitive, it would actually hurt their game more than help them. A 3 killers versus 4 survivors asymmetric is almost begging to have a casual player-based environment.
Yep.
Thus, perfectly sliding into a spot
My friends
right
versus your
next to
friends.
Dead by Daylight, where Texas Chainsaw Massacre has the casuals and Dead by Daylight has the sweats. Texas Chainsaw Massacre can be like TF2, and Dead by Daylight will more likely be like Overwatch. This is all assuming that Behavior Interactive and Sumo of Texas Chainsaw Massacre make good design decisions when it comes to releasing their game. With Nicolas Cage coming out, seems like Behavior is looking to make some plays. With Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game is actually surprisingly polished. The gameplay loop is fun, and people were streaming the game 24 hours straight every single day because
Dude,
they
I
never
had such
wanted
a fun
technical
time
tests
streaming
to end.
it.
Whether this
I had such a good
coexistence
time streaming
forms
it.
is all dependent on game developer design decisions. It's very likely this won't be another prop night. TCM is not trying to copy.
God, I hated prop night. Prop night was so terrible. Oh my God, it was so terrible. I tried prop night. It was such a... Oh, that was a mess. That game was so unfun. And that was supposed to be the party game. That was supposed to be like prop hunt in like Dead by Daylight together. And somehow it was more annoying and frustrating than Dead by Daylight was. I hated that game. I hated playing both sides of that game. That game was so frustrating. Yeah, Wiki, you played it with us, right? You tried prop night with us, right? We played that together, didn't we? Yeah, how awful was it? 9 out of 10. 10 being like most fun like game I've ever played, and 1 being like I would rather like throw up and vomit on a physical disc of this game. More like poop night? Agreed, dude. Literally agreed. That game was it was annoying. Like, it was annoying. Like, I don't know how to describe it with any tangentials. But, like, it was just frustrating. It was just an irritating game. It was like that little kid that was like, you got games on your phone? You got games on your phone? And they're just, like, at your ankle the whole time. Like, it was like that level of irritation. Like, I was just irritated playing that game. It was just so annoying. Yeah, that probably was ick. VHS, well, at least you can say VHS, like, leaned into the sweatiness. Leaned into it. At least they leaned into it. It was just the problem that, like, because it was in beta for months and months and months, the sweaty was more, the sweatiness was held by an elite group of people who already mastered the game. And if you were new and trying to get started at the game, as it turns out, if you make a sweaty ASIM and it doesn't have skill-based matchmaking, your brand new players are going to be being fed to people with hundreds and hundreds of hours who just very easily put them down. That's crazy how that works. That's crazy how that works, huh? Crazy how that works. What, kill your ransom? That's what we're just talking about, Moo. You know what fun that would be? For all the homies to squad up, take out the survivors. That'd be so great. It'd be so fun. I'd team up with every last one of you all to massacre. Dude, that'd be so fun. It literally would. And I can't wait for it. I literally can't wait for it. It'd be great.
Dead by Daylight. It's very likely this is not going to be like VHS. TCM is surprisingly
Is he a
balanced.
checker? I want to
and
be
it's actually kinda
Bubba
fun
or
in its current state.
Duck. Those are my favorites.
At the end of the day, all this performance is heavily reliant on the game developers. So I hope we all see a day where both TCM and DBD coexist with each other as 2 separate asymmetrical games that we all can enjoy. And to Sumo,
Agreed.
good luck. So that's my thoughts on the new game speculation.
Stacked wrong?
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, you put the small one on top and the big one on bottom. I
Hope
agree.
to see you guys in the next one.
Like to file a complaint. Yeah. The gameplay for the other family member that dropped me, get his name. Oh yeah, the hot tracker dude. Oh, his looked cool. Where he was tracking the footprints. That looked really sick. I also agree. He had like Billy Loomis vibes. And he could track people's like footsteps. That looked really sick. I actually really liked the demo for that character. I was like, ooh, he looks neat. I hope they do like one more technical test. Like we get a July technical test. Like they take all the info that they got from the one they just did in May, build all that up June, test it in July, build all that up, release in August. That'd be sick. So TCB release. Oh my god. Witchy, you were. I'm gonna see if I can find it. You're gonna be done. You're done. You're done. He's your type.
Member has been introduced into the family in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, and I can't wait to play this. This is Johnny. He's got a very interesting as we go through his gameplay and his gameplay teaser that was released not long ago on Twitter. In the first instances, we see Sunny trying to run away from Johnny, as Johnny is able to pretty much find his location through certain abilities. He seems to be quite agile, it doesn't seem too slow, so he's between maybe the Cook and Hitchhiker's movement speed, but he has a unique ability for his class, being the Johnny family member. And every time he activates his ability, he's able to look towards the ground, find a footstep, and investigate it. Once he goes through that investigating cutscene or investigating moment,
it's so cool.
Complete, he's able to see the following footsteps highlighted in yellow, showcasing the path that this survivor, this other victim, has taken on its path. And then found Sonny hiding in one of the cars and shanks him with his execution straight away. And that is kind of cool that this mechanic
it's so deep
as a way to hunt potentially campers that run around the map and then hide in certain sections. You'll be able to find them with this
because like this is what we were talking about with like the only gripe I really had with this game is that like because there's no endgame collapse or anything, like you realistically can just sit and just wait out everybody. And if Cook is the only character that can track the victims, and your Cook's not on comms or in text chat, and he can't track them, you're just kind of like walking around hoping that they show up when they're realistically probably just in a corner over there or something, which is really annoying. It makes the matches last way too long. So adding another tracking character is a very good idea. The OG movie you see at the beginning of the gas station? I think I know which one you're talking about. It's been a while since I've seen 3. I've seen the remake and 2 the most. 3 is the one weird one where he has a kid. And he gets a golden chainsaw. Just really odd. Really odd. Yeah, that's the weird one that, like, tries to take itself, like, way too seriously. Like, even the first one, which is, like, relatively serious, still has a lot of, like, dark humor to it. Kind of like morbid humor. So like, yeah, like like the most iconic line of all time. Look what your brother did to the door. But yeah, that was like more like they got kind of it was sadistic dark humor, but like the third one was just so like serious and needlessly so. It was kind of ick. With a Grandpa Bubba. I haven't seen 3D in forever. I'd have to rewatch it. My favorites were always the first and the remake. Those are the ones I liked. 2 was okay. Like, it wasn't for... 2 isn't for me. 2 is an objectively a good movie, but it's like, it's just not for me. I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1, and I just wish they made more of that. I can respect the director's decision to make something different. It's just not for me.